Yo, what's good YouTube, man? It's your boy Ben and I'm back with another video, and in today's video I'm bringing y'all the best offensive tips in Madden 22. Now yes, I know I did do defensive tips last video, and I know y'all want the part 2 to that, so that will be next video. But first we got to handle the offense, so let's go ahead and hop right into it. But before we hop right into it, please be sure to go down in the description, check out those links in the description, man. Join that TGB Cord, follow me on Twitter and TikTok, man. So let's get right into it. All right, y'all boys, the first tip I want to give y'all is start off with one formation. I guarantee you there's multiple formations within Madden that consist of every component of Madden to beat any and every coverage you need within the game. Bunch is probably the best formation of Madden 22. If you play Madden, or if you're in the Madden community heavy, you know this already, but bunch is probably the best formation, and you can literally throw a dot against any coverage out of bunch. But yeah, so that's step number one to being good at offense on Madden. You don't want to branch out and just call certain plays out of certain formations just for the simple fact of a lot of times people are going to start noticing, like say for instance when you call bunch you only call verticals. If that's the only play you have out of bunch, they're going to know to pick up on the verticals play every single time. That's why it's good to have a play out of multiple plays out of one formation instead of multiple plays out of different formations, because once like they can see your formation before they even call their defensive play. So just knowing that you're giving them that advantage, because they're gonna know your play, or they're gonna at least have an idea to what you're going for or what you're throwing it to. So that's step number one to even being a good offensive Madden player, is finding your formation and sticking to it and finding multiple plays out of it and knowing it down to a T. And so yeah, so that's tip number one. Let's go ahead and head over to the next tip. All right, y'all boys, for the second tip of this video is going to be make a custom playbook. Now this is for my regs and franchise players. Now the custom playbook just gives you an overall advantage because you get to pick what plays are in it, and so that way you know what your go-to plays is. You don't have to scroll through all those plays that you don't run or anything like that. And if you really set up your custom playbook, you can just call from your coach suggestions, because you can kind of adjust your coach suggestions from a custom playbook. And if you don't know how to make a custom playbook, all you do is you go to the main screen, like the main menu, you go to your settings, it's just say playbooks, and then there you have it. That's where you go to make your custom playbook. Everybody who's playing regs or franchise mode should be running a custom playbook. And for all my MUT players, this is another kind of tip: learn your playbook. If you don't know your offensive playbook, it's going to be tough for you to beat tough opponents, because yes, there's going to be a situation to where maybe the player you're going against knows how to stop your go-to formation. You're going to have something else to resort to, and you're going to have to know where it's at and know how to do the adjustments. So if you're playing MUT, be sure to know your playbook, the ins and outs of your playbook, different formations. Because like I said, with the first tip, just starting off with the basics, you want to start off with one formation. But once you learn that formation, you want to branch out, and then you want to start learning your playbook, and you want to go to other formations and learn about 2 to 3 plays. You don't even have to have a full scheme out of it. You just want to have 2 to 3 plays out of a few formations other than your main formation, because sometimes there's nothing unstoppable within this game. It may feel like that, but there's nothing unstoppable. So once your main scheme gets stopped, if it does get stopped, you need something else to resort to, whether it's 2 or 3 formations, or you have another formation that you have a full scheme out of. You're gonna have to know the ins and outs of your playbook in order to win games in Madden. That's just me. I know a lot of people and a lot of the pros, they love sticking to their go-to formation, and you can do that. Me personally, I just suggest knowing the ins and outs of your playbooks, because there is, through my eyes, there's always going to be a counter to what you do on offense. It's just a matter of fact of how tough do you make the counter be shown, and how good your opponent is to figure out that counter to your offense, and things like that. But if you know the ins and outs, like I said, it's gonna be hard to stop you, just for the simple fact of you're gonna know every, you feel me, different schemes and different things like that. And like, as y'all can see here, man, this is my custom playbook, and I guarantee you I know a scheme out of all of these formations, not just because I'm a content creator and I make scheme videos, but when I play Madden, I love to be able to switch up through all these formations and call whatever I want. And it kind of like confuses your opponent because they never know what you're going to be running, as long as you have like, if you know your playbook, the ins and outs of your playbooks. So let's go ahead over to the next tip. All right, y'all boys, for the next tip, now there's a lot to this tip. It's not just like one specific tip. Now within this, it's going to be the most important part of offense in any Madden game, from here to whatever other football games there is in the future. Now it's gonna be able, you have to be able to read defense, man. Now, my main thing I like to do is, before I even call HUT, I take a look at the safeties and try and notice a few things. Now, pre-snap guessing the coverages, it's not 100% because you can baseline and disguise your coverage a little bit before calling HUT. But if you notice that there's one high safety up there, like here we have two, that could be any coverage, but if there's one high safety, you know that they're in a cover 3 no matter what their adjustments is. The stock play that they call is a cover 3. Now, like I said, when there's two safeties back there, I just assume, well, I like to try and assume a cover 4. That's what I assume first when there's two high safeties like this. Now, it could be a cover 3 still. Like I said, you can disguise your coverage, but this is just what goes through my brain before even calling the play. But I always think cover 4, but I know what coverage this is because I picked it. But I always think cover 4 when I see two high safeties. So my adjustments aren't going to be any crazy one-play touchdowns when I see two high safeties, just for the simple fact of it could be a cover 4, and a lot of one-play touchdowns kind of don't work against cover 4. Now, if you notice that your opponent is calling the same defense, then you should already know what defense there is. You just have to pay attention to those snaps previously before you feel me, the play that you're on, and know what defense they're in. But if they're like switching up their defense a lot, make your pre-snap reads and things like that. And obviously, if there's two high safeties, it could be a cover 2 man, it could be a cover 2 zone. I just like to assume cover 4, so I don't really go for those deep bombs or anything unless I need it and I know it's going to work 100%. I like to look more underneath and crossers and things like that, and not go too far deep. Now for reads when you call HUT. First thing I look at is going to be my middle linebackers. Their middle linebackers and what they're doing. If I notice both middle linebackers, or even his user, drop back, like only two middle linebackers drop back into coverage into like middle zones, I know it's a cover 2 100%, no matter what. Now, if I see 3, obviously I'm gonna know it's a cover 2, so I'm gonna be looking towards that deep post and things like that. And if I see just 1 and I see 4 rushers, I'm thinking more of like a cover 4 match, or just a cover 4 in general. 9 times out of 10, that's what it's going to be. Now, obviously, they can do adjustments and things like that, but these are just stuff that you have to do just so you can know the basics and be able to make your reads a lot easier. But let's go ahead and call HUT and show you what I mean. So, as you can see, man, there's 2 guys in the middle right there, and they both drop back in the coverage. Like I said, I already know this is a cover 3, but let's go ahead and head over to the instant replay so I can show y'all what I mean. Okay, so we have this guy dropping to a middle zone, playing our underneath, and we have this guy in the middle zone. I didn't look at any other zone on the field. I know a lot of people say read top to bottom, but in my opinion, that's how you miss a lot of reads, and that's how I get sacked, because sometimes they'll blitz all of their linebackers, and by the time I get from looking at the safeties coverages, I'll be hit already. So I love to read the middle linebackers first before I do anything. And like I said, just looking at these 2 middle linebackers, you can tell what coverage they're in. Then after you go ahead and make the read of reading those linebackers, you could then look to your sidelines and things like that, and just pay attention a little bit more. Now, this little section is going to lead me into my next tip, and that is going to be know how to beat every stock coverage in the game, know the strengths and the weaknesses to every stock coverages in the game. Now, obviously, if you play this game, you know, or if you know football, you know cover two, their weakness is anything deep. Cover two is liable to get beat by, whether it's a sideline streak, a post up the middle, a streak up the seams. Cover two can get beat by it. Now cover three, deep post works against cover threes a lot. Crossers on the sidelines works against cover three a lot. If they don't have their zone drop set right, corners and things like that beat cover threes. Cover fours underneath, that's what you want to look towards. So your wheel routes beat every zone coverage, but it really beats cover fours. Against cover four match, it's a lot of different plays that get wide open for one play touchdown. So you just got to know the strengths and weaknesses to every single stock defense without even knowing their adjustments. You just have to know that just in case, because sometimes a lot of people will just throw in a stock defense just to kind of throw off the opponent's reads and things like that. And you have to know how to beat it and have to know how to capitalize off easy stock defensive reads and things like that. Now, when it comes to their adjustments and things like that, it may be a lot harder to read. But another tip is, one thing you're going to notice is a lot of people, they do the same exact adjustments on their defense. They don't have multiple adjustments for like the same defense. You feel me? So if their opponent who loves to call it double Mabel, 9 times out of 10, their go-to defense is going to be double Mabel. And a double Mabel is when they set 2 flats on each side of the field. So they'll have a hard flat and a curl flat on both sides of the field. And obviously, you know, the middle is very wide open when it comes to double Mabel and things like that. So you just have to pick up on little small things like that, and you're going to be able to make easy reads and quick reads and not miss your reads as much. And to me, this is the most important tip, is knowing how to read a defense, whether it's before the snap or after the snap. You have to be able to read the defense quick enough to where you don't miss any of your reads or anything like that, man. And so, yeah. All right, y'all boys, for another important offensive tip, it's going to be know how to manage the clock and control the clock. When you watch these pros, man, they're not just out there running and gunning and slinging the ball, going for one play touchdowns every single chance they get. No, they take advantage of the clock and know when they get possession of the ball. If they get it at half, they know when to run the ball, run the clock out, and things like that. So that's going to be a very important tip. I can't really explain fully on how to really manage the clock. That would be like a video for another time, because it's a lot to managing the clock. But if I want to just keep it black and white, man, do not just pass the ball 100% of the time. You have to run the ball if you want to be a great Madden player, because if you're just scoring touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, all that's doing is giving them more opportunities to get back in the game, to score. And when you're passing the ball, eventually an interception is going to happen. And to keep your defender on his toes, run the ball, man. So if you want to call a play action, they have to respect it, at least bite down a little bit with their user. If not, when you run the ball and they don't bite down, you're going to have open holes and things like that, because they're still focused on your coverage 100% of the time, man. So like I said, black and white, man, run the ball occasionally, man. Don't just pass the ball. But a more in detailed description of this tip is know how to manage the clock, know when to run it, know when to pass, know when to turn on true clock, know when not to turn on true clock, and things like that, man. So yeah. All right, y'all boys, this is the end of the video. But if y'all want a video on how to thoroughly make reads, I can make that. Just go ahead and go in the comment section and drop it down below that's what you want. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, sub up and turn that post notification bell so you get notified every single time I post. And it's your boy Bean, and I'm out.